Imagine giving every employee in a company full administrator access to everything: databases, servers, billing, security settings. One accidental click could destroy an entire cloud environment. That's exactly why AWS created IAM, Identity and Access Management, one of the most important security services in AWS. AWS IAM is the service that controls who can access AWS, what they can access, and what actions they can perform. Think of IAM as the security gatekeeper of an AWS account. Without IAM, there would be no proper way to control permissions securely. And because cloud environments can contain hundreds or even thousands of resources, IAM becomes critical. The entire idea of IAM revolves around two questions: who are you, and what are you allowed to do? For example, can this user launch EC2 servers? Can this developer access production databases? Can this application upload files to S3? Can this intern only view billing dashboards? IAM handles all of these permissions. There are four major IAM components every beginner should know. First, users. An IAM user represents a person or application inside AWS. For example, an employee logging into the AWS console. Second, groups. Instead of assigning permissions one by one to every user, AWS allows users to be placed into groups. Permissions can then be assigned to the entire group. Third, policies. Policies are JSON documents that define permissions. They specify what actions are allowed or denied on which AWS resources. For example, allow access to S3 buckets, deny deletion of databases, or allow only read access. And fourth, roles. Roles are one of the most important IAM concepts. A role is similar to a temporary identity that can be assumed when needed. AWS services commonly use roles to access other AWS resources securely. For example, an EC2 server accessing an S3 bucket, or a Lambda function accessing DynamoDB. This avoids storing passwords or access keys directly inside applications. There are also two important security terms related to IAM: authentication and authorization. Authentication means verifying identity. Basically, who are you? This usually happens through usernames, passwords, MFA, or access keys. Authorization means deciding what permissions you have after logging in. What are you allowed to access? IAM handles both authentication and authorization inside AWS. Because IAM controls security, AWS strongly recommends several best practices. First, never use the AWS root account for daily activities. The root user has unrestricted access to the entire AWS account. Second, enable multi-factor authentication, MFA. This adds an extra security layer beyond passwords. Third, follow the principle of least privilege. This means users should get only the minimum permissions required for their job. And fourth, use rules whenever possible instead of long-term access keys. AWS now strongly recommends temporary credentials and IAM roles for better security. Imagine a company with different teams. Developers may need access to servers. Finance teams may only need billing access. Security teams may monitor logs. Applications themselves may need temporary access to storage or databases. IAM allows all of this to happen securely without giving unnecessary permissions to everyone. In cloud computing, identity is one of the biggest security boundaries. If attackers gain excessive permissions, they can control massive amounts of infrastructure. That's why IAM is considered one of the most important AWS services. Almost every AWS service integrates with IAM in some way. So whenever you log into AWS, launch resources, access storage, or connect services together, IAM is silently working in the background, controlling permissions and securing access. And understanding IAM properly is one of the first major steps toward understanding cloud security itself.